Hello again, this is John Bona with the Story of Liberty. I think one of the interesting subjects that we still hear about today is to whether socialism is taught in the Bible. I was recently driving in my car and I heard a pastor say that it was. But let's go right to the Bible when it teaches in the book of Acts chapter 4. Verse 32 we read, "All the believers were one in heart and mind. No one claimed that any of his possessions was his own, but they shared everything they had." And then verse 34 and 35 says, "There were no needy persons among them, for from time to time those who owned lands or houses sold them, brought the money from the sales, and put it at the apostles' feet. And it was distributed to anyone as he had need." Well, that kind of does sound like socialism. Well, it's not. The Bible does not teach socialism. But millions of Christians around the world, and especially in America, have been convinced otherwise. And many pastors are preaching this in the wrong way. Look at, a text without a context is a pretext. Did you ever hear that? And this passage is taken out of context and has been used as a pretext to sell a mess of garbage of socialism to millions of Christians in America and elsewhere. But let's look at what happened in the book of Acts chapter 5:1. Ananias and his wife had bought a piece of land. They sold it and brought part of the money and laid it at the apostles' feet. Peter said, "Ananias, why has Satan filled thy heart to lie to the Holy Ghost, to keep back part of the price of the land?" Well, let's remember, folks, that one of the basic fundamental premises of socialism, communism, is that the government owns the property and the means of production at a minimum. There is control by the government. Do you know how a socialist or a communist would define private property? They define it as theft. Unbelievable, but it's true. But what does the Holy Writ say? It says, "While it remained, was it not thy own?" There you go. Private property. Private property is good. The very antithesis of socialism. God has guarded private property with his own commandment, "Thou shalt not steal." See, it's a guarantee that private property belongs to the individual, the family. And look in the next verse in Acts 5:4. "After it was sold," said Peter, "was it not in your own power?" So we see that even the results of the sale of the property were not controlled by the government. They were not controlled by some large government. It was in his own power, the owner of the property. That is another major tenet of communism or socialism being totally destroyed. We read further in the book of Acts that other disciples, Barnabas and others, they sold their property and they willfully brought the money and laid it at the feet of the government. No, they did not. I'm just seeing if you're listening. They did not lay it at the feet of the government. They laid it at the feet of the apostles. See, why there is nothing in this world that would upset or be a total abomination to Marx and Engels and Stalin and Hitler and Lenin than the people to give their property to the church. Because why? Because these type of people that are socialists and love socialism, they love communism, they want to destroy the church, just like today in North Korea. But see, that is what the disciples did. See, another major pillar of socialism and communism being destroyed. And the final straw that breaks the camel's back of socialism is that it was voluntary. See, what the early Christians did was voluntary. All communism, all socialism is involuntary. It's enforced by the sword of the state. If you don't do it, you are in trouble. All socialism, all communism is involuntary. It's enforced by the sword of the state. See, out of the exuberance of the outpouring of God's Spirit upon them and the love they had for each other, they wanted to help each other and do that. They wanted to share with each other. It was voluntary. Now, I don't have any objection to any group of Christians trying this in a Christian commune or something like that. Well, that kind of winds it up. The Bible does not teach socialism like many are preaching from the pulpit wrongfully. In fact, it is diametrically opposite of what the Bible teaches. The Bible teaches the private ownership of property for families and individuals to own and remain responsible for. There are many in our country who have died for that economic freedom. They have fought on other shores to protect our economic freedoms. But those liberties are still under attack in our nation today. Though America became a free nation several centuries ago, there are still those in this country who have worked and are still working diligently to try to undermine that political and economic freedom. Let's remember, in America, that economic liberty is critical. America is not only the land of the free, it is the land of opportunity. A city set on a hill. A city of gold in the eyes of many people. Well, many still can realize their economic dreams in America. But let's remember, there are those that are working hard to undermine that economic freedom as well. God bless you, and thank you for joining us at the Story of Liberty.